Hello, and welcome to the Caine Interviews. I'm Shannon Caine. On today's program, we'll be talking about the School of Metaphysics. Joining us from the Fayetteville branch of the School of Metaphysics is Jonathan Durbeck. He'll be telling us about the various programs and services that the school has to offer. Mr. Durbeck, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right. Well, how long has the School of Metaphysics been around? When was it first incorporated?
It was first incorporated 30-something years ago in 1973 in Springfield, Missouri, of all places.
Wow. Okay. Well, where does the school have its various branches aside from Fayetteville?
We have schools in 10 or 11 different states in the Midwest. Tulsa, pretty close to here. Springfield, pretty close to here. Oklahoma City, Dallas, Kansas City, Des Moines, Iowa, Columbia, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, 3 schools in the Chicago area, Urbana, Illinois, Indianapolis, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, and Cincinnati, Ohio. We're opening a new school.
Great. Okay. One of the schools aims...
and headquarters near Windyville, Missouri, about an hour north of Springfield.
An hour north of Springfield. All right. Well, one of the school's aims is to teach a progressive, comprehensive, long-term course in the mastery of consciousness. But what does that mean exactly? Could you explain that in beginner's terms?
Sure. One of our aims, actually, it helps us reach one of our aims. Our ideal is to aid any individual to become their whole functioning self. And one of our biggest activities is to teach that class. So it's this course that we teach. It's weekly, meets in the evening, 7:30 to 10:30, and every few weeks or every couple months we start a new group of people in that course. And they'll start at the beginning. It's progressive, like there's an orientation, introduction, and then there's exercises and written lessons, and they prepare you for what comes next. Like before teaching meditation, we'll teach concentration. So when you're sitting to meditate, you can concentrate better. And say before we teach how to heal with energy, we'll teach some things about how to control your imagination and visualize in really clear images. So it's progressive, that's what that part means. Comprehensive, it covers a lot of stuff, a lot of universal stuff, stuff that you can apply to anything. How to concentrate, how to listen, how to remember more clearly, how to listen, especially applied to meditation, how to learn, steps of how to change a negative attitude to a positive one, how to harmonize with somebody you're out of harmony with. So it covers a lot of stuff that you can use for a lot of things. And it's a long-term course in that it's 9 months to a year to complete the first cycle of lessons that's taught. And people come as long as they're willing and desiring to come and able. So sometimes people come and they just check it out for a while, and sometimes people come for a few weeks, and sometimes people finish the whole first series of lessons. In the entire course, there's 4 cycles of lessons. And after that first one, the next one, in order to move through that one, it's necessary to teach. So if you go far enough in this course, teaching becomes part of it, and that's where we get our teachers, people that want to teach what they've been learning. And going through the entire thing, which actually very few people do go through the whole thing, just like few people that show up at a college get a PhD. You can go through the entire course. And it depends quite a bit on an individual, how long it would take. I would say at least 5 years to go through everything that's taught, and there's nothing left. And then you'd have a doctorate of metaphysics.
Okay. Well, what does the School of Metaphysics teach about past lives and reincarnation?
Okay. Well, for that, it's kind of like the main focus being how to use your mind, how to improve your life. And part of that is, well, why is my life the way it is? And how can I live my life to my greatest benefit? And for that, you start looking at a longer range perspective. You start looking further into the future and further into the past. So what we teach is that we are here to learn that life is like a big schoolroom, and all the lifetimes, we teach that there are multiple lives a person lives, and that the lifetimes are like years in a school. And each one, you're there for certain learning. And that you actually, as a soul, as a non-physical or metaphysical being, you choose the conditions of your birth before you come into this life based on what's available. And so, for example, somebody that may really resent their parents may find out that although it isn't necessarily an enjoyable, pleasurable lesson, that there was something that they came to learn from their parents in amongst everything else. So one, it helps you appreciate your life, appreciate your opportunities. And two, it helps you think more in terms of, well, what can I learn from this situation that's permanent that I can take into the future? And that's the context that we teach about that.
Okay.
So that's kind of a nutshell, quick version.
Okay, great. Well, dreams seem to play an important role in the school's teaching. What is the role and the function of dreams?
Well, the role and function of dreams, the part of dreams that we have the most authority with, that we teach people about, is what they say about you, the dreamer. Like when you dream and you're sleeping, you've got a message coming through in pictures from your subconscious mind, from a deeper part of your mind, kind of like subflooring is underneath the floor and it supports it. Subconscious mind supports our outer conscious mind. And I'm not talking about your unconscious mind. I'm not talking about like unconscious thoughts and memories that people have from way back when. I'm talking about a whole nother part of yourself that's not even physical, called subconscious mind. And that being the source of our dreams. They go through the brain, we remember them, and it's in pictures. So a picture is like worth 1,000 words, and pictures can tell you a lot more than words can. So, for example, I have a friend in the School of Metaphysics who had a dream that he turned into a bull, and he was charging and rampaging. Now, if somebody had said, well, you've got kind of a bully attitude and you're being too forceful with things, it wouldn't make as big of an impression as that experience of turning into a bull in a dream. And that image stuck with him better. So part of dreams is they're in our own native original language, what I would call the oldest language known to man, known to humankind, pictures, images. And it's not translated into any English or Spanish or any other language, which is really neat because somebody from any country, anywhere, can have a dream. And if you look at it in terms of symbolic pictures, even if you don't know their language, you can figure out what it means. So anyways, these dreams, they'll tell you about your state of consciousness, your life at that point. Sometimes they'll review a little bit, and sometimes your dreams will put in things about the future. And part of that is because it is kind of a weird thing to wrap your mind around, but we've got distance. I'm here and you're there. And if you look at it really physically, my brain's inside my skull in the dark, and yours is inside your skull in the dark, and we got so many feet between us and we never connect. But in subconscious mind, there's no such thing as distance, and everything's always connected. And not just distance-wise, like location, but time-wise too. You can see probable courses of events. So your dreams will even show you some things about the future sometimes, or they'll show you things going on with other people. Or you can have experiences, some people travel in their dreams. The biggest thing we teach with dreams is how to use them to understand yourself.
Okay, well, what is the National Dream Hotline?
Well, that was a really neat idea somebody had. I think it was in Oklahoma several years ago, and we've been doing it for like 13 or 14 years, maybe 15 now. At all our schools, the last weekend of April, we have our phone open to answer questions about dreams and help people interpret dreams. So if somebody, say in Fayetteville area, called our number, or in Chicago called their number, or nationally or internationally, we send out the number of our headquarters, and we tell lots of media about it. And we get phone calls all weekend long about dreams. And it's extremely interesting and often really helpful, because some people will have dreams that they're afraid to tell anybody about because they think it's saying something awful about them, or they're ashamed of their dreams, or they're afraid they'll come true. And just to have somebody they can talk to, some people are so relieved, they'll cry on the phone, and they'll be real thankful just to know that their dream of killing people doesn't mean they really want to go out and kill people. Mm-hmm. Like a big thing is helping people get past some of their fears with dreams.
Right. Well, how does the school work toward promoting world peace? And specifically, what is the Peace Dome?
Well, promoting world peace. A while back, some people from the school went to the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago in the 1990s. And they had a document there called the Declaration of a Global Ethic. And the document was great that everybody agreed on all these things. of what a global ethic would be, but it was also kind of negative because it basically listed a whole bunch of really bad things and said, we don't like this. So people got back and thought, well, wouldn't it be good to have something like that that's more positive, that paints a vision of what we do want for the world? So all the teachers in the School of Metaphysics from all those different cities I mentioned to you got together over the course of several months, and they put together this document called the Universal Peace Covenant. And it's about a page, and it basically states all their thoughts and ideas about what peace is, how to create peace, why peace is important, and puts it all into a document. And it's really deep, like really well written. And so we've been giving that to lots and lots of people and trying to paint this vision of what peace is, like a target to head towards, instead of just like peace is just the absence of conflict. And the other thing we've been doing is an event called the Universal Hour of Peace. And this began in 1996. At first we did it on October 24th, the anniversary of the United Nations. And then we switched it to 12 noon Greenwich Mean Time every New Year's. But because that meant people around here would have to get up at 6 a.m. The morning after New Year's to celebrate it, we didn't have that much participation. So then we switched it to be like a wave that moves around the globe, just like with the New Year. So it's 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. every year. And that hour can be spent anywhere, any way that consciously brings peace. People have had ceremonies. There have been churches that have gotten together and done stuff. People have prayed, meditated, sang, whatever people choose. So it's really open. It's really universal. And then the big thing, here in Fayetteville, we're doing a peace celebration. Like New Year's, usually it's like really loud party, not always a very conscious holiday. So we're doing a peace New Year's, a peace holiday. And I can tell more about that at the end and tell where people can go and stuff. But
that'd be great.
We're going to be doing that in Fayetteville.
Okay,
And
great.
the Peace Dome you asked about,
Yeah.
It's a monolithic dome. It's like a great big sphere. And it's like half of a sphere sticking out of the ground. It's made out of one big piece of concrete. Physically, that's what it is. It's out at our headquarters in southwest Missouri in a rural area on our college campus. We have a college there. And it is used for classes, for events, for things that help people become more. And it's used for a lot of peace-type events out there. And we called it the Peace Dome because we decided to dedicate it to peace, and a reporter came by and said, well, what are you going to call it, the Peace Dome? And we thought, well, that's a good name, so we just called it the Peace Dome.
Great.
And there's like an energy that it has a peaceful energy. We imbued it with like all this peaceful energy by having this huge dedication day and having people from a whole lot of countries, especially people in the World Peace Prayer Society, all got together and read that peace covenant at the moment the building was dedicated. And so we've been keeping it as like a place anybody can come to experience peace, to work for peace. I guess mainly to experience peace. And we've had events there. There's a play called The Invitation, where people play Nobel Peace Prize laureates, winners of the Nobel Peace Prize, Martin Luther King, others, and they basically put this big play on about peace. We've had other things like that there. And that's the Peace Dome. It's been the focus of a lot of thought and activity on peace.
Great. If a total novice signed up for a beginning level course with the School of Metaphysics, what are some of the introductory concepts that he or she might be introduced to?
Well, first I'd like to say we've had the biggest range between just absolute novice to people who have studied just about every metaphysical thing you can think of. And so it's open to anybody, and there's no need for any kind of prior knowledge, really. And the other thing I'll preface this with is that concepts are a very small part of what we teach. The main part of what we teach is more how to do things, how to change things, like, all right, here's an exercise that you can practice to help you learn to concentrate, and I'm going to work with you to help you learn it and help you apply it. Or, okay, we're discovering some ways that you limit yourself that you'd like to change, so we're going to work on helping you change those. And a part of it's the introductory concepts. So as far as concepts, one big one would be thought is cause, that your thoughts are real, they have an effect, and they shape your life. They shape your emotions, they affect your body, they affect how people respond to you, the kind of energy you put off, how easy it is for you to learn, how difficult it is for you to do new things, everything. It all starts with your thoughts. And another big thing that we teach, a big introductory concept, is to find the good, to look for the learning, to look for what can be gained in any situation. Another big one is that you are more than your physical body, that there's more to you than just I'm this age, this race, this sex, this physical characteristics, this role in society, this set of temporary habits and attitudes, that there's more to us than that. Those are a few of them. The idea that we actually chose this life that we're in. And these are all concepts. And the thing is, like I said, we have these concepts, but the big thing is, okay, here's a way to practice this and apply this to see if the concept's even true or if it works. And so if somebody already believes it, it's like, well, have an experience so you know it. And if somebody doesn't believe it, it's like, well, have an experience so you can find out if it's true.
So it's very experiential.
Very experiential, absolutely.
All right, well, can one be a traditional Christian and engage in studies with the School of Metaphysics? Or in other words, is there any requirement to alter one's pre-existent beliefs?
The only requirement is a willingness to change. And the only beliefs a person would be required to change or asked to change would be those that limit you. So I know there are a lot of people from a lot of different faiths and backgrounds that have studied this, including Christian. And the word traditional, it's like, well, traditional how, I guess, because I don't know, what do you mean by traditional?
Mainstream.
Mainstream.
The average churchgoer on the street, you know.
Okay. I guess there's no requirement to change your beliefs. After all, though, you start having some experiences, and some of your beliefs are either going to change or they're going to deepen.
Right.
And so it's pretty hard to go through something like this course without having some beliefs change.
Right. But it's not required that you...
Probably you'd be thinking on a level a little bit different than most people, so I'd say you probably won't end up really being a traditional thinker anymore in any sense of the word for
Okay, fair enough.
any application.
All
Like,
right.
for example, I'll give you a little deeper answer to that.
Okay.
One thing we teach is how we teach that there is a universal truth in all holy scriptures of the world. That in itself, I suppose, would probably go against some mainstream Christianity, but not all.
Sure.
And we teach that if you look deeply enough, some parts of the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita and the Tao Te Ching and many of the other books like that can be interpreted much like a dream. Same goes for a lot of Greek mythology, even some really ancient folklore. And you can find some universal truth just like a dream. And this is by no means an original thing from the school either. But that's one thing that we present.
Okay. Does the school offer other services aside from its coursework?
Yes, ma'am. We offer lectures and workshops. Like, we have speakers that have come to everywhere from Mensa to singles groups to senior centers, university groups. And we've presented talks and workshops and things on everything from memory to creativity to far out topics like Atlantis and things like that. We print and publish books, so we offer those. Also recordings, tapes. In fact, we've even done a couple movies, spiritual movies, one of which we're going to submit to play on CAT, maybe even after this.
Great.
We also offer the Dream Hotline, the Universal Hour of Peace, which is coming up soon. Sometimes we have events at our schools. We also offer a really unusual service that is pretty unique called Intuitive Reports. These people who are familiar with a man named Edgar Cayce might be familiar with what these are. Some people have called things like this readings. And what they are is a way to get information about your health, about your current state of growth, and other information about you, and to get it from subconscious mind. So like, here's how it works. See if I can explain this. That part of mind, that subconscious mind that's connected to everything, there's a place in subconscious mind where you can find a lot of information. It's kind of like the internet. Some people call it the Akashic Records. You can go there and get information about people. And we have people in the school who have trained basically to put their conscious mind to sleep and answer questions through their subconscious mind. So somebody else will train to guide them down, bring them up, and ask them questions about a person. And people give us basically $80 to do this, and we send them a tape and answer their questions. So like it'd begin like if you were the reporter and I was the conductor of one of these, you wouldn't remember anything you said, so none of your personal biases or prejudices would get in the way. And I would say, you will have immediately before you the essence of the entity referred to as Joe Smith Schmo. This entity can be found at, I give the address. You'll scan this entity from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet and relate any disorders thus seen. You also relate whatever is necessary for the correction of any disorder. And then this person you'd never met, who's probably in another state, the intuitive reporter would describe their health, mental, emotional, and physical, with suggestions for improvement, all the way down to the location of tumors, changes in the diet, and just mind-blowing detail. And these have been incredibly useful for a lot of people.
Wow.
That's a big service we offer. We also send healing to people. Every Sunday, as a way to practice a kind of healing that we learn in the school, we get together, and anybody who requests it, free of any kind of charge or anything, we'll send healing to them. The person receiving it has to be the one requesting it, so it's not like somebody has to give their permission and want it, basically. And sometimes we've had some amazing results from that. We've had people suddenly not have hepatitis before, people on their way to get surgery on their eye, and the doctor says, never mind, you don't need it after all, and all kinds of things with that. That's a service. It's just totally free. The classes we offer, that's a big one, and there's the short courses. Sometimes at the Jones Center and other places we'll offer short courses on things like dreams, concentration, meditation, creative visualization. So that's something else we offer. There's even some weekend spiritual retreats up at our headquarters that we offer. And coming up pretty soon, we're doing a big seminar in Kansas City and also in Tulsa that we're offering to businesses and individuals called The Powers of 10. So that's a whole bunch of things. Those are a bunch of things we offer.
Oh, that's great.
We have a lot going on.
Now, the School of Metaphysics is actually headquartered in Missouri. Can one study all of the school's materials here in Fayetteville, or would you eventually have to travel to the Missouri headquarters?
The whole first cycle of lessons could all be studied here. And the whole second cycle could be studied just all at one school. But at some point, as one of the requirements for completing the entire course, like the equivalent in college of a PhD, one of the requirements is to spend a year as a student at the College of Metaphysics. I actually did that a few years back before I moved down here. And the other thing is, after a while, because people start at the beginning of this, and you can't really jump in halfway through, and some people decide after a while to stop, the classes tend to get smaller as they go. So towards the upper parts of these lessons, sometimes you might have classmates from other cities, and so people have to converge somewhere to have class. So towards the end, almost certainly people end up moving. We need to move someplace else to go to class, or just travel once a week to go to class. So really, towards the end, if somebody really wants to go all the way with this, and honestly, most people don't go all the way, it's a pretty big commitment.
Well, how have people benefited from studying with the School of Metaphysics?
Oh, good. This is the part I was looking forward to, because I get to tell stories.
All right.
Some ways people have benefited. We've got a student right now who used to be on medication, 120 milligrams of, I can't remember the medication, but she was on it for bipolar disorder. So every time she's been to her psychiatrist, they've been reducing it. Now she's down to 80, and they're probably going to keep reducing it, and hopefully she'll get off it. Another student I was teaching earlier this year was on lithium and a couple other things, and she's totally off her stuff. Have another student right now who is on some anxiety medication, which he no longer takes. And this is tricky stuff, you know. I mean, you have to work with your doctor on it.
Mhm.
But it's a great thing to not need stuff like that anymore. We've had people with ADD
Mhm.
who, through doing concentration exercises, have gone to their doctor, and their doctor's like really impressed and stuff.
Mhm.
We have a student who has people who have kids. This is a really good one. We do a few things with kids, but mostly we work with parents, and then they teach their kids. Well, we've got a student right now whose daughter was observing her mom doing doing a candle concentration exercise we teach,
Mhm.
and some other things. So she was kind of impressed with what her mom was doing, so she starts to do the same thing. So then her teacher is calling saying, how come your daughter's all of a sudden doing really well in math? Well, it turns out she's been learning to concentrate. So now she can do math a lot better. We've had people, we have a student named Stacy who used to freak out with a spring break spring break camp she used to work at, where she'd get really stressed and have headaches.
Mhm.
She learned to have a stiller mind,
Mhm.
to concentrate. Now next time she worked there, since the classes started, she had a great time and wasn't all freaked out anymore. I could tell you a lot of stories: cure cancer, heal stuttering, creating a family, creating a job, all kinds of stuff.
Wow. Well,
You can
that's
use your mind
great.
for anything.
Okay. Well, if one were interested in learning more about the School of Metaphysics, where could they go for further information on it?
They could call our school right here in Fayetteville,
Okay.
and the number is 527-6804, and we'll probably put it on the screen at some point here. And
Mhm.
we have a website, son.org. We have an email address, sonfayetteville@yahoo.com.
Mhm.
And also, people can come to our school. We're going to be moving pretty soon, but at the moment, we're across the street. If this comes out after March, we might be moved, but
Ah.
as of now, we're across the street from Marvin's IGA on Lafayette Street.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty close. And just call, visit. People are welcome to come by. We're all volunteers, another thing. So during the day isn't always the best time, but call ahead to see if somebody's there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for
You're
being
sure
on
welcome.
the show. And you've been watching Channel 18, Community Access Television in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We've been talking with Mr. Jonathan Durbeck from the School of Metaphysics in Fayetteville. For the Caine interviews, I'm Shannon Caine. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.